Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Back pain is one of the key ailments that prevent us from going to work so many times. So that's what we're going to be talking about, how holistic therapies like Ayurveda, yoga therapy, and energy healing can help all of us. We have Dr. Puri with us. She is an integrative health practitioner from Canada who has experience in not only in Ayurveda, yoga therapy, spirituality, energy healing, and diet. She is all in one. Thank you so much, Dr. Puri, for joining me today.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. So what a topic. Back pain is, we can talk about it for years. The truth is, just because pain shows up in one part of the body, it does not mean it comes from there. That's where it shows up. So when we think about the back, you want to think about the back part of the spine. Your back carries a lot of the load of your body. And you can also add to that the emotional load that we all carry. So obviously, one of the number one things is movement is so necessary. But the right kind of movement, and also when you are overdoing, you're going to create a lot of back pain. So, I don't even know where to begin because there's so much in there. So I can, kind of start with the physical. So when I say, doing too much, I have people who are runners. They continue to run because they love it. And that tightens their hamstrings, which tightens their hips, and it pulls on the low back. So the pain shows up in the low back, but it's not coming from the low back. But that bears the burden. And eventually, when you keep on burdening the back so much, the spinal discs, because there's no more room in the back, they begin what we call is herniated disc. And also, what's important to notice that, especially nowadays, our life has become more sedentary. We're sitting a lot in front of the computer. Life has just become sedentary. In order to move, we have to consciously decide and take an action in moving. So what does prolonged sitting does? It tightens up the muscles, the hip muscles, the tightened muscles, and then there is impinging on the nerves, okay, which begin to create back problem. So one of the pain is really blocked energy. And in order for energy to move, the movement has to happen. We have to move the back. So we have to consciously get up and move every now and then to do a little stretching. And also our posture matters. Many times when we are sitting and there's fatigue, and if the back muscles are not strong, we tend to slouch. It's just easy. That will weaken the back and will create back pain. So what I have actually, it's funny that we're talking about back pain. Look what I have in my hands. It's a yoga tool. What it is a wedge. So I'm putting it like this. The thicker end is towards the chair and I'm sitting on it. So my butt is right on the edge. What does that do? It really, it elevates you and it straightens up the spine. Instead of slouching, it helps you not slouch. Another thing you can do is to put a stool when you're sitting. So you, like a little step stool. I don't have a step stool, but I have another chair that has a handle at the bottom that I put my feet on. So you can put a step stool. The point is for the knee to be just a touch higher than your hip. What that does, it drops the hip back into the hip socket, creates room between the hip and your low back. That's something we do not do. So, it's recently I do a lot of work with emotional healing, trauma healing, and all of that. And recently working with a client who's been having back pain for a long time, I discovered the connection between trauma and low back pain. So when you think about trauma, the effect of trauma on the nervous system is the inner contraction. The inner contraction that is repeated over time, it actually contracts our spine, and low back bears the burden. So I have noticed that frequently that people who have had unresolved trauma come to me with back pain. It's only later I discover, when we continue to work deeper, that, oh, there's a trauma that needs to be resolved here. I've had one person who actually got debilitated because of trauma. She didn't know what had happened. Her spine gave out. So the nervous system bears the burden of all of our experiences and the experiences that we have not metabolized or digested. So think of that as stress. And that stress is going to eventually show up on the body, physical body, create pain. So what you want to really think about when you're looking at back pain, I know you're going to go to, physical therapy or to the doctor and x-ray. What we need to think about it a little deeper. Look at your lifestyle. How are you sitting, sleeping, walking? How often are you moving? Look at your emotional world. What kind of emotions that you're not able to metabolize or heal? You can't talk yourself out of it because the experience has already happened in the body. Emotional experience happens in the body. It's an energetic imprint that happens on the body. So we can't talk ourselves out of feeling what we feel because it's a little bit too late. It's already happened. So just taking a little inventory and saying, what is there in my life that I don't feel aligned with? I can tell you that even the tiniest thing that we are accustomed to talking ourselves out of has an impact on the body. It just won't rest until you deal with it. So just take a look at that. And diet, as far as diet is concerned, anything that's inflammatory is going to exaggerate the pain, no matter where the pain is. So there's not a diet specific to the low pain, specific to the low back, but it's a diet that's anti-inflammatory. So some of the inflammatory things are the nightshades, alcohol, smoking, repressed anger. Anger heats up the body, it inflames the body. So, again, everybody's situation is different. Some people have just a tightness in the back muscles. Some back pain is coming because there's a hip problem. Some back pain is coming because there's weakness in the abdominal muscles, or back pain is there because they're just herniated disc or they have a sports injury. So there could be a number of causes, but it's just kind of look at your life from the physical point of view. How are you sitting, standing, living your life? What are you putting into your body? What thoughts are you consuming? And where in the emotional world, where your emotions need attention and need to heal. It all happens in the past. We all have things in the past, trauma in the past that we have not yet healed. So trauma and back pain, especially in men, there's a direct correlation. That's what I've found in my practice. For women, it tends to be in their pelvis area, more in the hips and knees. Interesting. And also their neck. But low back pain and trauma are very connected in men.
That's fascinating, the correlation that you're talking about. And all of us have unresolved emotions.
Absolutely.
Right. So now when it comes to, and this is a quick 10-minute session that we bring, this is not a medical advice at all, but some simple tips, whether Ayurveda, from toolbox of Ayurveda, yoga therapy, or you talked about the inflammatory diet, not to have that, but what about incorporating some of the tools from yoga therapy and Ayurveda, simple breathing?
The oil massage. There's an oil that's infused with anti-inflammatory herbs. One of them is turmeric. So, oils that are heating. So an oil massage is wonderful. I just showed you the little yoga tool. What I really want to bring to you is yoga block. Lay down on your back with the knees bent, lift your hips up, put the block under, drop your hips back down. What that does is creates traction in your low back. So the Ayurvedic therapies, again, you know, you want to keep the digestion really healthy because digestion, it just affects the entire body. And the oil massage is really useful. What other Ayurvedic therapies? A quick tip. You know, I really don't want to go ahead and talk about herbs. I don't want people taking them just on my very loose recommendation without knowing. So I cannot recommend any herbs like that. But I can suggest that, you know, simple herbs like, you know, what will keep your digestion really healthy is triphala. And creating a schedule, a daily care schedule. You're waking up at a certain time, you're getting up at a certain time. You're including exercise, breathing, moving in your daily life. You are becoming conscious of what you're consuming mentally and emotionally and energetically. Consciousness is medicine. Raising the level of our awareness is medicine. So there are just a number of things. Just start with a couple of these things that I have mentioned. As you know, I can't really get anything specific because I don't know who I'm talking to.
Sure. Absolutely. This is just a general, you know, do-it-yourself kind of session, a simple, like people can do at home. And of course, if there's any serious condition, you know, people have to consult a medical practitioner or holistic practitioner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We just awareness of holistic therapies, how the efficacy of holistic therapies, and there's so much research behind it that all the ailments that we have in our society today holistic wellness should be the first go-to therapy.
Yeah, it's not the alternative therapies. It's if this is where you go to, then this becomes your primary medicine. Absolutely.
And that's what we are trying to do, is holistic wellness as a primary medicine, a primary care, rather than an alternative or complement.
Alternative, exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Puri, for being with us and educating us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
With everyone else, stay tuned. We are coming up with the platform, so we will be launching that soon, and you will get to know with that. Thank you, everyone, for your support. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.